This is a cool gun. First kind of cool, second kind of cool. I think it's got both bases covered. And I guess it will break new ground for us here in TMP. That's because it is a custom build AR-15 in caliber 6.8 SPC. But first the gun. I'm going to call it the Yoda build. That's because it's put together by our guru gunsmith, Terry Gardner, call sign Yoda, name I gave him many years ago, at Impact Guns facility, Ogden, Utah. It is the Yoda build. I was visiting him a couple weeks ago, saw this gun on his workbench, and I was impressed. I was like, where'd that gun come from? He's like, it's mine. I was like, Terry, you put together something this cool? Because I am not easily impressed with AR-15 builds. I've seen thousands of them, and it is very frequent the builder gets something wrong that I don't like. Too heavy of a barrel, the handguard I don't like. You know me. I have my preferences just like you have your preferences. But this one I was impressed with. I was like, Terry, that is a sweet build. In one word, SAWC compliant. He got it right. And yes, we're going to talk about this in this tabletop review. As I was thinking about how I was going to discuss the gun, going component by component, telling you what I like, what I don't like. Maybe it will help you in your build, maybe it won't. Something became very apparent to me as I was thinking about things. And you guessed it, the caliber. This is the first 6.8 SPC gun I will have reviewed, hence new ground for the project. And that's where we're going to start. If you're interested in philosophy or in 6.8 SPC, the following discussion I think you will find interesting. And I'm going to set the stage with this. And yeah, later on I'll go component by component. We'll cover the gun too. But a lot has to be focused on this. The cartridge debate, which by the way can go on endlessly. You could go to any forum you want and find guys getting angry at each other. Heck, over any cartridge you want. 9mm versus 45, 40 versus 9mm, 6.8 versus 5.56, 308 versus whatever. The debates are endless. I don't go there. I don't go to forums. I don't participate in them. I just stay fresh. I will share with you information that I've revealed from my own experiences, our own testing and review here in the project. That's what you're dialed in for. That's what you're going to get. It's going to be a fresh perspective. There's no hype, no BS. So, with that in mind, consider the following question. And I have been asked this several times. Nutnfancy, if you were to choose between 6.8 SPC and 5.56 by 45, which one would you choose? This is assuming that you don't own an AR-15, that you're not heavily invested in this cartridge yet. Let's say it's a blank sheet of paper. You're not an AR owner, you don't own any of the ammo, you don't have a stockpile. By the way, I have a really bad cold, sorry. Show goes on. Yeah, blank sheet of paper, which one would you choose? And let us please just consider the 6.8 SPC. I know there's others out there. 6.5 Grendel, 300 Blackout. We're just talking about this one. These two right now. Well, that is a very difficult question to answer. I will answer it very forthrightly. I don't pull punches. Here's your answer. I'll go with a 5.56. Does that surprise you?
Sound like a hit.
It should, because in previous reviews, TMPers have heard me say I love the 6.8 SPC, and nothing's changed. I do. I think the 6.8 is a great all-around tactical carbine cartridge. It's excellent. But to show you how I arrive at my answer, we have to consider four broad categories. Hitting power, economy, SAWC, and you're going to love this, barter. Told you it's a fresh perspective. It always is in TMP. Always. Original thinking always in the project, and it's just how I arrive at the conclusions. First off, hitting power. Let's face it, dudes. 6.8 SPC is a better all-around cartridge. These are the two loads we tested. A box or two of Remington as well, but this was predominantly what we shot. It's a better cartridge. It's a bigger diameter bullet. It hits harder. Generally 40, maybe even 50% greater hitting energy than a standard 5.56 load with 55 grain FMJs. Okay, so let's consider just some basic numbers. And I could just wax, you know, in such detailed information with all this stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to broad stroke it. And these are 100-yard numbers. So first up, 6.8, and it's going to be off of Hornady's website is where I'm getting this. This load right here, 110 grain BTHP. I think at 100 yards, it's 2550 feet per second. And then it's going to be producing just over 1,300 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards. At 300 yards, a 6.8 110 grain load is 860 pounds of foot energy at 300 yards. Now, if we're going to throw up, and I didn't write all the numbers down for 55 grain, but that will dominate a 5.56, 45, 55 grain. It will. But I would have you consider this. If you're going to compare a 5.56 against a 6.8 SPC, even from a blank sheet of paper, the question, I would compare a 77 grain round against it. It will compare more favorably cost-wise. In other words, you're going to get better performance out of this one without too much cost, kind of like this. This is actually a reloaded Mark 262 Mod 1 analog. In other words, it's basically a Mark 262 Mod 1 round. That is a 77 grain open tip hollow point, and it's going to be pushing 2750 at the muzzle, I think. Now, if I go back to Hornady's numbers, not for this one, it's going to be a 75. That's just what I wrote down. It is 2690 feet per second at 100 yards, 1,209 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards, versus a 1,300 pounds for the 6.8. See how the plot thickens. Now, again, if I'm running a 55 grain against this, this will dominate it, the 6.8. But I'm not. I'm running a 77 grain against it, which is basically my GTW load whenever I could get away with it, if I could store enough of these up. That being said, 6.8 will deflect less in light brush. It will penetrate light obstacles, and I really underline light obstacles, much better than this one. This caliber, 22 caliber bullet. There have been many failures of the 5.56 in combat. We've heard about those. The threshold for tumbling and massive tissue damage is about 2,700 feet per second. Most of the failures of the 5.56, says me, come out of a 14.5-inch barrel. The Marines have less problems because they're firing it out of their, 20-inch M16 barrels? Full velocity, full capabilities, it's a more capable round. That's why I've always said in an AR-15 platform, my overall favorite barrel is not 20-inch, but 18-inch. SAWC, it's awesome, yet it produces more velocity, helps this little round out as much as possible, and yes, I still think this is a pea shooter in the 55 grain loading. When you jump up to 75, 77 grains in a 5.56, it's much more capable just by judging how we've shot it out to about 500 yards in the desert. It is more wind resistant. You still have to dope your load a lot more than other cartridges, kind of like 7.62 by 51. But this isn't a lot better. I mean, let's look at the drop. 6.8 SPC. It drops, I wrote it down here somewhere. At 400 yards, we will consider this 6.5 MOA. This one, that is a 77 grain. The Mark 262 Mod 1, 7.2. So 6.5, 7.2. That's about a half MOA difference is all. This still hits harder. It's still an overall better cartridge. But when you talk about hitting power and you are more realistic in saying a 77 versus a 110 grain 6.8 SPC, I think the difference is narrow, is my point. And the reason that is important, because now we have to consider economy. Now, it's easy on the internet when we're anonymous. We can talk out our butt, right? We can just say, oh, this is that, that's this, 6.8 is the best. But when you're paying the bills and you're storing up this ammunition, which may or may not be available in the future, so you need a stockpile, let's say, I don't know, $2,000, 2,000 rounds. How much are you going to be paying for this? First up, can you buy it in 500, 1,000 round lots? The answer is no. It's not a military surplus round. Economy of scale has blessed and cursed the 5.56 by 45. It enables us to go out and buy it for You guessed it, what? This one's 83 cents a round. This Mark 262, which isn't too bad. But heck, you can get it for 40 cents a round, XM193. Look around. Economy of scale. This one, on the other hand, Lisa's Hornady load, I think we pay like $1.16 a round for testing. You can get that down to $1 a round if you want. Or maybe even less. Someone will, oh, I know this place that does it. Okay. But the fact remains, this is a much more expensive round if we're considering a philosophy of use where you would need a stockpile of ammunition. That's what we're talking about. We're going to go in, after we finish the 4 points, we'll go into POU a little bit more deeply, and you'll see the 6.8 for some POUs just blows this one away. But if I need a stockpile of ammunition, you're asking, I want an AR-15. The answer is yes, I need that. Why? For training, for practice, for fun, for defensive purposes. That's why I need a stockpile of ammunition. Heck, if you're TMP, I need it for testing. A lot of the testing I've done over the last 2 years has been out of stockpile only because the rounds aren't available. Testing would have come to a crashing halt had I not had that stored up. For that, I'll take 5.56. Economy, this one wins hands down. You can practice with it more. If you don't practice, you're no good. If you're just going to, like most AR-15 owners, honestly, buy this gun, put it under your bed, never touch it, get the 6.8. You know, honestly, I think most AR-15 owners have about 10 of these boxes, and that's good. And that's from personal experience knowing guys. A lot of the guys watch this video, oh yeah, dude, I mean to buy more rounds, but I just don't. If that's the case, buy 6.8. If you're just going to get one gun, and you're never going to upgrade to a sapper, that is a semi-automatic precision rifle, not that this is that precise, it's the RFB, it's just here from the last review against the 17S. If you're not going to have that in your system as an option, a real heavy hitter, 7.62 by 51, 308, go with a 6.8. It's a good all-arounder if you don't need to buy lots of rounds. But not fancy, I can have a multi-caliber lower, I can put an AR-15, I'm sorry, a 5.56 upper on it, I'm good to go, dude. Roger that. Different magazines, you're going to need a different bolt with a 6.8 SPC. I know, with 300 blackout, it's different. You know, just judge. Economy. So we've talked about hitting power, economy, next is SAWC. Size and weight considerations. So I loaded up a magazine, 30, actually not 30, but 27 rounds is what this one holds. Of 6.8 SPC, it's this load right here. How much more do you think it weighs than the 5.56? A fully loaded magazine. Well, from having run TMP here forever, I know that a 30 round mag is 16 ounces, 1 pound. This one was 38% heavier. So it was 22 ounces. So that is 38%. Doesn't make a difference. I don't know. Who are you? What are you going to be doing? You know, what are your systems? It is a vehicle-based system. If it is a WROL system without rule of law, again, 5.56 wins. Just saying. I've said that in all my reviews. Been very consistent in my philosophy. I've said in my 7.6251, that is 308 battle rifle reviews, if I could take the weight of my system, if I have support, if I know that I can carry the rounds, that's my choice. Because that blows both of these cartridges away. These are both puny compared to 7.62 by 51. Not that it's all that, but it's better. I'd prefer 338 Lapua, 300 Win Mag, but I can't do that. In a WROL situation, I will take that. It's going to weigh less. I can carry more rounds. It is more size efficient. Granted, not by a huge margin. It's 38% if my calculations are correct, which I think they are. And that will lead us to our last point. And it's also more barterable. Let's say you have, I don't know, 2,000 rounds stored up with this, dude. But you don't have this medicine. You don't have this tool you need. You don't have fuel. You don't have food. How many people will need 6.8 SPC? How much can you barter it? Correct. Very few. If any. You may not find anybody wants it. However, 223, widely spread. Everybody's going to have an AR-15. Everybody. A lot of people are going to have AR-15s, dude. So you can barter your ammunition. So to answer the question, to get this very interesting and important subject out of the way, which one do you choose, Nut and Fancy? Blank sheet of paper, you don't own any magazines, systems, ammunition, or guns. Which one? For defensive carbine all-around WROL choice, 5.56, for the reasons I just talked about. But if we expand the philosophy of use discussion to, considering this gun on the table, hunting, I think 6.8 is better. And a lot of people do hunt with 6.8, and if anything's keeping the 6.8 cartridge alive, it's the hunters. A lot of guys love to hunt with an AR-15 style platform. They'll use, obviously, a reduced capacity magazine. They go hunting with it, and it's allowed, I think, in most states for deer-sized game. But don't get carried away. Don't think the 6.8 is all that. It's still a medium-powered cartridge. Witness, the 30-30 and 160 grain FTX Levolution load, this is a Hornady load, spits out 2150 feet per second at 100 yards at 1843 foot-pounds of energy. Versus, remember, the 6.8 110 was 1300 pounds of energy. The only reason I bring that up is because I don't want guys to act like this is the ideal deer cartridge. Because, incidentally, I've always thought of the 30-30 as a barely powerful enough deer cartridge, in my estimation, having grown up hunting with it forever.
I can see it, it's drifting hard.
This is less power. That's my point. So while 6.8 SPC is a great cartridge, let's not get carried away. It's still underpowered in the big scheme of things. Hunt with a minimum. If you're going even against deer, I would go minimum 308. Go 270 Winchester, 300 Win Mag, 30 out 6. Not that. But I'm just saying. Great hog gun caliber. You know, there's a lot of reports, wow, this hits harder than that. Good hog gun. How about recreational caliber? How about not? How are you going to afford it? Well, I'm going to make reloading the 6.8 SPC my life. Okay, then in that case, go for it. You know, I don't know what the loaded cost 6.8 is going to be if you do all the work. Granted, it ain't going to be a buck around. It's going to be a lot less. But it's still time, energy, stuff I don't have or interest to do, to be honest with you. Most guys won't reload.
20 mile an hour
for recreational shooting, dude, 223 all day long. All day long. 30 round mag, or in this case 27 round. I mean, what? That's $30 a mag? That's if you get it for a buck a round? You see where I'm going? That's why the guy puts it under his bed. He buys 6.8, he'll go on the forums to brag about what an awesome gun it is. He never shoots it. He can't afford to shoot it. He's got bills to pay. He's got to put food on the table. Be realistic. Philosophies of use. Team rifle. Yeah, I think it's a better choice than this. Absolutely. It's going to complicate defensive, measures by the bad guys. If I'm running a team rifle, the department's paying for it. I'm talking FCLE. Yeah, dude. All day long. 6.8. All day long. Hits harder. It's definitely hitting harder in close range. It's going to defeat glass better. It's not even, in the realm of debate, really. Do you see the difference, though, where a department's paying for it? I have an armor taking care of it. I have all the stockpiles. It's a duty gun. But when you're paying the bills, when you may be bartering with it, I'd go 5.56. And honestly, in WROL, how long are you going to be shooting? I'm talking range-wise. Let's be serious, guys. How far are you going to be shooting? Let me just lay this out. How about you're not shooting at all? The chances of you making a shot, yes, even if WROL is going to be so slim, you'll be ecstatic. Because isn't that what we ultimately want? We don't want to have to use our guns. It's only when we have no other options we have to make a shot. When we will die, our family will die, maybe our neighbors will die, and we've exhausted all other options, we go to the gun. Just like rule of law, right? How close do you think you're going to be? Let's be realistic. Try this. Within 50 feet. Within 50 feet, dude, 5.56 will do everything you want it to do. Trust me, especially if you're running 77 grainers. But this guy shot this, this bad guy in Afghanistan. He kept going. Do you think the average person who takes a round anywhere in his body, 5.56, is still going to want to do bad things to you? The average person? I know there's been criminals that have taken rounds of these that keep doing their bad stuff. But I'm talking on average. Oh, I don't know. Question, which one would you rather be shot with? If you answered neither, you win. Both will work. And both will hurt and probably kill you. The 5.56, my point is, within a realistic engagement distance, will do the work. And I still think of both of these cartridges as 300 yarders.
Yep.
What? I knew a guy that used a 6.8 to shoot a Sasquatch, and he dropped with 1 round. There's all types of anecdotal evidence of someone who did this or that with a cartridge. Doesn't mean it's smart, nor do I think it's representative of the cartridge. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Someone who's shooting a deer beyond 300 yards with a 6.8, I'd seriously question their judgment. Seriously. That's just me, though. I like power. I think it's not an ethical thing to do with such an underpowered cartridge. That's just me. Philosophies of use. I think that's all I'm going to say, dude. And I think it's interesting. Fascinating. On to the gun. The Yoda build. First off, SAWC, he got right. That is size and weight. I picked it up off his shop table, and I was like, dude, that's not too heavy. I like that. And that's with this freaking Surefire muzzle brake he's running. He's basically using it as a thread protector. It is model number, what is it? MB68AR. It's a brake. We shot it. It works. Doesn't do anything for flash suppression. You can just screw it off. And he runs a can on this normally. It's just kind of a temporary thing he's running. Yeah. So even with that, though, it hefts nicely. Overall, and this is with the mount, the magazine, and the scope, which, by the way, I hate. I hate this scope. I cannot get it to present the target clearly. Even at 100 yards, it's not adjustable that way. It does have the cool ballistic reticle that Burris is known for. It's a 2x7x35 Burris. Don't like it. I guess it's in a pepper mount. One piece. Looks too heavy to me. Yeah, but even with that, 8 pounds, 11 ounces overall. Dude, that's in the ballpark. Remember, that's with glass and a magazine, apparently a big heavy muzzle brake. If he pared it down, he could get it to, probably 7 pounds, 14 ounces. And here we go by way of comparison. Here comes TMP SPR number 1. This is Saber Industries build. You've seen it in front of the camera. That's running a Trek suppressor. Everything you see here is 9 pounds, 12 ounces. That's with a steel can. It's not the titanium suppressor. Without the can, this weighs 8 pounds, 9 ounces. And that's an 18-inch barrel, fellas. And that has MBUS on it. Not MBUS, but BUIS. Those Troy Industries battle sights. Everything you see here with a more powerful scope. LaRue mount, SPR mount. Yeah, if you choose wisely, you can make it weigh less. Check this out, though. I still love the Troy Industries handguard. There's a lot of great handguards out. It's good to see the industry finally picked up on what I was criticizing for years. That's its stupid quad rails. Has Daniel Defense moved away from that yet? Last time I checked, they haven't. They're still running them. But this is it. Look how trim that is. For a non-fully automatic M4, AR-15, M16, this is what you want right there. Now, this build, the Yoda build, uses a new handguard called Odin Works. Hadn't heard of them before, actually. It's a little bit wider. Still pretty trim. And like the Troy, you can bolt on accessory rails when and where you need them. There's one on the bottom. Heavily machined out. It's actually pretty light. 10 ounces. It's around $200. And I think there's a 12-inch guard on that. This is a mid-length gas system, by the way, on a Noveski barrel. This 6.8 SPC. Not sure what chamber it has in it. I don't know. But it's bead blasted. And I forget where Yoda got the barrel. He may have inherited it with a trade or something. In that way, a lot of AR-15 builds go, hey man, I'll trade you this for that. And the guys put it together. Seems like it locks on tight. We didn't have any loosening going on there. The lower is a proprietary lower from Impact Guns. I didn't even know they were doing them. It's called STS. This is in kind of a gray Teflon. The whole finish of the gun is really cool looking. Second kind of cool. Gray Teflon. It's got some, I don't know, Indian skull thing going on there. Motif. Sick. It's good. I think it's just a standard forged 7075 T6 aluminum lower, which I prefer over billet. Just proven. Billet's fine too, depends. The upper is DPMS, I believe. I think that's what Yoda told me. And the forge marking translates into BAFE. That is Brass Aluminum Forging Enterprises. I'm sure it's awesome. Not sure what extended charging handle that is. I don't know. You guys will know. It's cool though. There's so many. I mean, there's so many AR-15 accessories. Who can keep up? How are all these companies going to survive? I don't know, man. Rock River pistol grip. It looks to me like it's put together by Ergo with a Rock River logo on it. The trigger he's using is really good, actually. Really good. Double check this. Make sure it's empty. It is a POF modular, and it pulls at a crisp and very clean, impressive 4.5 pounds. Dang, I like that trigger. Lots of great triggers out there. Rock River Arms is probably the most cost-effective. The 2-stage match kit you can buy for around $120. You got the Wilson Combat Tactical Trigger Unit, which is outstanding. The Chip McCormick's I've run in mine. That's a modular unit. Excellent. The Geisley are excellent. Way overpriced, though. The list goes on and on. This is another option, the POF. This one on their website's running $200, subject to change. This lower, by the way, the STS by Impact, is using a Troy extended and winter, apparently, trigger guard. So you can swing that out of the way. No one ever does that. Not that I see. No other special milling there. The upper, by the way, has M4 feed ramps on it, in case you're wondering. You'll never shoot it fast enough to make it necessary. And there's all kinds of mags. This will cover firepower, I guess, since we're just going in order here. There's all kinds of mags, I guess, for 6.8. This one was aluminum. It was reliable. Although I'll say right here, we did have one failure in this gun. I'll show it to you somewhere along the way. I don't even know this brand. What is it? SASC, New Britain, Connecticut. Whatevs. I'm sure there's a ton of different options for 6.8 out there. Can you get the big drum mags? I don't know. Do you need the big drum mags? Honestly, do you? Probably not. Don't waste your money then. You know? 30 rounders, in this case 27 rounds of firepower. Yeah, that should be sufficient. Let's see what else, going backwards. Oh yeah, that is a Ace fixed stock. I have had issues with these on other guns. In fact, it was a Saber in the background. That came with an Ace and it rattled really bad. I think they fixed the problem though, because this one locks on really good. No movement at all. It is not collapsible, as you can see. It's fixed. I don't mind it. You know, you can put on a longer butt pad if you want to change your length of pull. It's got sling swivels here if you want. Decent. And it doesn't weigh the gun down too much. I think it's a good choice. I already talked about the optics. Don't get me wrong, I like 2.7 power. That's actually my best overall power. I just didn't like the scope. I couldn't get it to focus. It did not seem bright, which surprised me because usually Burris is pretty slamming that way. How about the internals on this? Yoda didn't really know, actually. I was like, dude, what bolt carrier group you got in there? He's like, I don't really know, dude. He didn't say dude. Yoda should say dude, but he doesn't. Call him Terry when you talk to him. I don't know if he likes Yoda. It's just funny. That's an M16 bolt carrier. Some staking going on there. I don't know what brand it is. There's so many good brands out there. I really think price is a good indicator. So if you're paying around $150 for a full bolt carrier, it's probably pretty good. Probably. I'm not going to like stake my reputation on it, but there's a lot out there. You know, sometimes teamsters are like, oh, you need to review this. You need to review this brand. I'm like, why? There's so many of them, dude. You know, I just have a whole AR-15 channel. I want more than that. By the way, the upper to lower receiver fit is excellent. There's no AccuWedge needed in this, which will take us to, I guess, accuracy. Oh, moving right along. Okay, Tactical Doodle, my son shot this. All his other groups sucked. He just wadded it up and threw it away. I was like, dude, you got a really great group out of that. And it was this one. Look, that's at 110 yards with this gun. I think shooting this stuff. You know, that's an MOA group out of a 16-inch barrel. Mid-length gas system, 6.8 SPC. The other ones weren't quite so impressive. But you got to keep in mind, it was a 20-mile-an-hour wind we were contending with there. It was just a lot. The table's rattling. We can't go prone because there's brush in the way. So yeah, we shoot off a polymer table. This is what we came up with. And to be honest, this is what most AR-15 shoot like. They're not sub-MOA. They're usually about a 1.5 MOA, and that's exactly what you're looking at here. Then I cranked up there. That's a pretty decent group right there. Almost MOA. Out of the Yoda build. There's another group there. Another group there. Another group there. Decent. I would say accuracy, from what I saw, with the very limited loads we're shooting, by the way, but I love Hornady. Hornady shoots so good. I mean, if the gun doesn't shoot Hornady that well, I'm like, dude, I don't know. maybe the guns, and I'm talking well is like sub MOA. I think it's representative of the gun. What he has here is about a 1.5 MOA gun. Generally, you saw there is a sub MOA group. Again, the shooting conditions are real world. They're not in a controlled range environment. We never shoot that way. I shouldn't say never, but we rarely shoot that way. Philosophy of use, so I still prefer an 18-inch barrel over the 16-inch for all the reasons I've talked about in Concept SPR video. Look that up if you're interested. I think it just makes more sense. And when we talk about calibers, dude, still love this 6.8 SPC. Don't get me wrong. If someone else is paying the bills, probably that. Not necessarily, because I still think you lose out on SAWC and barterability. Says me. Accessories on this build were pretty much shown. We've covered them all the way. Field strip is standard AR-15. Reliability and durability. Noveske barrel uses excellent steel. I know that for a fact. Not really sure of the internals. Don't doubt the POF trigger group. That should be just fine. I think it'll be awesome. Did have one jam. I told you about that already. Don't really have a price for you and how much you spent. But like I said,
Well, 223
do a custom AR-15 build, dude. If you use premium components, by the way, the POF trigger has those anti-walk pins, which I love. I need to put that on all my guns. I would estimate, I don't know, $1,600. What? That can't be right. I don't even know. I don't even know. But keep in mind, the barrel alone is $350. There's $200 for the guard, so that's $550. You know, then you lower your magazine. I don't know, maybe 12-ish. Just depends. Me, I'd try to put together or buy, you know, one that's put together the way you want it. The problem is, a lot of us have different tastes, different barrel preferences, and we can't find the gun we want, so we build it. And it is fun. And you can get a good AR-15 that way. That's it. Tabletop review of the Yoda build and a very interesting discussion on 6.8 SPC versus 5.56 45. This is the Nut and Fancy project. See ya.